Welcome to a brand new episode of Sequel Rights, the podcast where we take a look at the franchises that make you go, they made how many of those? And we give each and every sequel a fair trial. My name is Justin Camps, and I'm here with
Elizabeth Helly
and
Tyler Hymanson.
And we're moving right along through all the symphonies of Beethoven the dog. With Beethoven's Third this week. Oh man,
we've entered into Universal 1440 territory.
That's right.
The straight to DVD dregs early on.
It's a real drop off, I gotta say.
Whoa, spoilers for your thoughts on the movie. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
Well, you know what? Here on the podcast, we always love to share the misery with other people who don't know what they're getting into. So we have a special guest on the podcast this week. Tyler, who's here with us?
We got Chad Felix, recent dog owner. How long is it now? You probably only had a couple weeks, I believe.
Yeah, we're up on 2 weeks. Melfi is our dog. She's a pointer. She's a delight. She went to the park for the first time today. I was actually at work.
Oh, you missed it.
I missed it, but she was hanging out with her cousin, a hound dog, my girlfriend's sister's dog. And the pictures were great. Doing dog stuff.
Nice.
Perfect dog stuff. You know.
Have you found that in the 2 weeks that you've had her that it's become easier to blame all your problems with capitalism on the dog, which it seems like is the reason that you have a dog going from this movie, because both Julia Sweeney and Judge Reinhold seem to think that all of their money problems are being caused by this one dog.
Yeah, $2,700 in the first 20 minutes. Since we got Melfi, it's just like, oh, my bike is broken, my house is destroyed.
That's right.
The RV I rented. It's
yeah. It's rough.
Well, I guess before you get, so you know a little bit of what we're talking about, I assume what we have is just a masterpiece of a trailer, Justin.
Oh, of course. I mean, here it comes.
America's favorite dog is back. He's loyal, he's lovable, and he's got a nose for trouble. Now, with his newfound family, he's about to embark on his hairiest adventure yet.
He's an untrained, drooling hairball. He's a hero. This whole trip has become a catastrophe because of that dog.
Honey, he can't consciously ruin anything. I don't think.
I love the moment in the trailer when it's like, he's about to embark, and then immediately after they say bark, it goes, woof. I was like, seriously?
I mean, that's just crack sound editing right there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, well, like we said, we're done with the theatrically released Beethoven movies.
And we're done with the original cast.
Yeah. Totally gone. And they keep making you think like, no, they're going to show up. Just watch the whole movie. They're going to show up. We keep talking about them as often as we can.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. Don't worry. It's going to be worth watching the movie all the way to the end. Just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this before in sequels, but one of the biggest, worst crimes that these later sequels can do is make you resent the old characters because the retconning has meant that they did something horrible,
right?
Which in this case, George and Alice have abandoned their dog with George's brother's family.
Yeah.
Yes. Where we left off at the end of the second film, they were adopting 5 St. Bernards pretty much until they were grown. And now this is what, 6 years later, something like that? Supposed to be, maybe, or maybe it's only a year later, but they've gone to Europe, I guess, for air freshener reasons.
First of all, nobody in Europe is using crappy American air fresheners.
Yeah.
They just open the windows, okay?
Yeah, Chad, if you don't recall, the dad in the first 2 films runs an air freshener factory, and he's really stressed about convincing the bankers to invest in his company. So I guess he's successful in that, and so him and the entire family abandoned the dog.
Well, is the entire family in Europe though? Aren't some of them? Don't they mention Ted at the end?
You would think that the kids would be taking care of the dog. and not shipping it in a crate like it's like a raptor from Jurassic Park.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Rice is away in college, but the little girl is definitely not. She's got to still be somewhere.
Yeah, I thought they mentioned the kid at the end with the other dogs that show up, but
Yeah,
they're in some random Eastern Bloc country.
well, Botswana was mentioned at one point, and I think I saw probably all of these growing up, but it was like that era of your childhood where you don't remember a single thing about any of these movies, but you took them on every road trip. So you've seen them like 30 times, but like never actually seen them.
mm-hmm.
And part of what was fun for me watching this movie, there wasn't much, but like one fun thing was not remembering any of the prehistory and just imagining that like this other family is like conned this family into like smuggling St. Bernards across the country is very, very it was kind of fun to think that like he was like shipping, there's a St. Bernard craze in the States and he's like shipping them. And this family is just like unwittingly like doing the brother's bidding as like a good family deed,
Yeah, he's up in the Swiss Alps capturing dogs and sending them out.
Oh my god.
It just makes no sense because like what, they took the dog with them to Europe and then they weren't able to bring it back. I mean, they lived in California already. Yeah. So like dog
why did the dog make it all the way over there? Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
And also, the container that the dog was in, it was not something that was flown. It was something that was put on a container ship of some kind.
Yeah, it also looked like
by the way cargo goes. So Beethoven spent a long time inside of a crate on a cargo ship.
Yeah, they have him in like this raptor cage. It looks like basically.
And he's totally fine with it. He got out of that crate and was just raring to go. Wasn't thirsty, wasn't hungry. Perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely maladjusted, ready to completely understand English and foil more plans.
Yeah.
As Saint Bernards, which I guess is a key feature of the breed at this point. We have our new family: Judge Reinhold, Julia Sweeney, and two brats.
I mean, when they first showed Julia Sweeney, I was like, I couldn't remember who she was. I just knew that I had a deep and like intense dislike of her. And then I remembered that she plays A.D. Bryant's mom in Shrill and is just a horrible person.
Yep.
And I was like, maybe she'll show me that she can act different, but it could be the same character, honestly. Like, it is so bad. And then I looked her up and I guess she's Pat on old SNL, which is either
an SNL character.
Yeah, it's either a completely clueless or horribly offensive, vindictive character towards people.
I mean, it's SNL.
Yeah, but
I did like at the very I did like at the very start of the movie where it just at first just shows like the Newtons on the side of the house. And my first thought was like, wow, they recast all of the characters. Like, it's the same family. But then I was like, no, there's not enough kids. And okay, now this is his.
Now, I had that thought too. I love how they thought, wouldn't it be a fun plot twist instead of the dad not wanting the dog and the mom being, really loving and supporting it, if they both kind of didn't like the dog?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a fun twist of actually nobody really liking the dog except for the daughter?
Yeah, even like the teenager preteen boy was until the dog helped him get the girl, he just loathes this dog.
And the young boy's name whose name is Brennan, which I believe like you only name your kid Brennan if you want to like yell at him all the time or something. It feels like the kind of name where you're just like, shut up, Brennan, like from Step Brothers or whatever.
So we find that they're both very, very concerned. Also, am I wrong? Like, so Judge Reinhold has like pulls up in this fucking RV. The first shot we see of the RV is like a shitty RV, and then it cuts to a different RV.
Yeah. Because they're like, oh, is this the one? Oh, thank God, it's not the shitty one. Thank God.
Yeah, and then she was equally upset because, of course, he's already over budget.
Right?
Her character is designed to kind of nag him, and everyone throughout this whole movie. It's really upsetting.
It's like we don't have enough money. It's like, and I, given the terminus of this trip is this family reunion, which we'll get to, but they spend great cost and a great amount of money to get to this thing for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Before it's like, all right.
Family reunion for literally less than an afternoon and then start driving back home.
Yeah, where they're quickly given another chore.
Yeah.
Like almost immediately.
Time for the next movie. Go back.
We get something that is emphasized a lot early on, which is Julia Sweeney's prize gnome collection. Which like she seems really concerned about it, and we get lots of shots of it, and it seems like it's going to be building up to a joke of some kind, but no.
Yeah, also
it just has gnomes.
Arguably there was a joke. I don't know that it was actually a joke.
Fair enough.
But when they're pulling out, the RV strikes the gnomes, and it makes a strike sound like bowling. And then is that when we haven't talked about the villains who are
oh my god.
Yeah.
Real rough. But the villains one of the villains is like this Jedi fan, Star Wars guy.
I was like, what? Like at this point, aren't all these Star Wars things dated? Or like
so it was the year 2000, so was it that they came back because Phantom Menace, or probably that would be my guess.
It just seemed weird to me. Like this screamed like 40-year-old screenwriters being like, "What do kids like what's grunge? Like, oh yeah, they like coffee, DVDs,
yeah,
Star Wars. That's what kids like."
They have a live action representation of Twitch from or Tweak from South Park, right? That's pretty much what this guy is.
I was gonna say, like, the caffeine is totally a stand-in for like speed or something. Like this is
oh god.
It was very rough.
This guy's chugging coffee through the entire movie, and it's so gross. There's a certain part where he just looks like he is having a heart attack or something, and he's like sweating, and he's just like, I gotta have like one more drink. And it's just like, it almost made me want to puke, honestly.
The villains of this movie are, and we've traversed Home Alones. We've traversed like lots of Jingle All the Ways. We've traversed a lot of bumbling people in these movies, and largely they get some character actor who's like, even if you go to the Cinderella story movies, like we get somebody who's kind of fun, who gets to choose some scenery or do something. These, I submit, are the worst villains that we've ever had in any one of these movies. They are the most half-baked, no personality. They are just the absence of an idea ambling through the movie in a way that the most painful thing, I think, is when they're in we'll get to the Western sumo experience, but there's a point where like they have like hijinks ensue and they're wearing these sumo suits, and it's like the most forced like plotting. Like looks like they did like one stunt take and they only had the afternoon to do it. So it's just these guys just kind of like half-assing, like rolling around, and then they just sped it up fast Benny Hill style and put it in the movie.
Yep. That happens so many times.
So bad.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
Speed ups.
Yeah. So, well, Judge Reinhold, the reason that all this is happening is because he's trying to replicate the plot of Vacation.
Yeah. His old trip with his dad, where he did all these same things.
Yep. Where he traveled from Colorado down through Arizona, I guess, to California, which I don't know why you do that, but sure. And I love like halfway through this trip, they're like, you're now entering Arizona, where like apparently like all of the roadside attractions that they're going to are in Arizona. And it's like, there's fucking nothing on the freeways in Arizona. like you could, like, if you want to buy some quartz, like cool, but like there's nothing like that.
Yeah. Where are you?
Yeah, I really love that sequence. They chime in on the road again for like a montage of Beethoven looking like cross-eyed but happy. But then they proceed to visit like large versions of stuff. Like, so they visit a large fire hydrant. They visit a large rock that's shaped like a bone.
They're all dog related as well.
Yeah, and then they did it was Ugh.
It was again one of some of the laziest writing I've ever seen.
We got to talk about that amazing like Polaroid photo that they put up of Beethoven with his eyes.
It's
like
so bad.
Like for whatever reason they like didn't just use a regular photo. They like photoshopped googly eyes on a dog.
They even closed the credits of the movie with the photo.
The end of the movie's like, buh? It looks so fake and terrible. Oh, I don't know.
Well, we do get to see Beethoven play matchmaker again in this movie. He doesn't save a child from death nor prevent a rape, but he does help a horny teenage
He
boy.
saves a child from kidnapping and potential death.
I guess.
They were going to
I feel
crash
like
that
those
RV.
idiots would have figured it out, would have fucked it up somehow anyway.
They were going to crash that RV. Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I guess that's how it starts. It's really nebulous to talk about this movie because so little actually happens in it. I guess we should talk about like why these fucking idiots are chasing them. They have this
so
really
stupid.
convoluted plan where they've put an operating system, but it's not like the file of an operating system. It's a video file of an operating. So it's like literally like a video file of somebody scrolling through some binary onto a specific copy. It's actually unclear to me. I don't think it is a specific copy of this Don Knotts movie, The Shakiest Gun in the West, because they ask when they could get another copy of it, which leads me to believe that they hid this source code on every DVD printed from whatever DVD house is publishing this movie. Because like, when they're at the video store, they specifically ask him, when could we get another copy? Which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, and the video guy said, whose name is Quentin, by the way, which I thought was a really interesting detail because he knows everything about every movie. But he says it'll be 6 to 8 weeks. And then they force him to look in the back for another copy of it. So it implies that it exists on all of them. And that like the movie production company was in on the plot about which we know.
I don't know.
We don't know anything about this plot.
I feel like they were
know what it is.
I feel like they just. I don't think it was like that crazy. I feel like they just didn't believe him that there wasn't another copy there somewhere because nobody would have bought it. And
my other favorite part of that is when they get on there and it's like, oh, the person who checked it out, like I got his address right here, and he's like, you hacked their system, and that amount of time it's like, no, like the system's open. You just look up who checked it out. Like you're not.
And he's like, that's illegal, man. That's illegal.
I know. I love the.
That's illegal to use a database that's designed for that exact purpose.
I love the video clerk guy. He's got some really funny lines. They're like trying to get him to just tell them who bought the last one, and he's like,
dude, what do I got, like federal felony written across my forehead or something? What's that?
What's that? He also looks like he's wearing like sunglasses inside. I don't know. It's fucking weird, but I thought he was pretty funny.
Well, no, he grew up in Flavortown. He's under the Guy Fieri School of Styling.
Right. He totally is.
Okay, man,
Easily
whatever.
my favorite character.
Cool your jets.
Cool your jets.
Cool your jets. Oh yeah, the best character in the movie by far.
Yeah.
And that dude has an acting career after this, which is, impressive after appearing in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't even look up the two villain guys, but I was just like, who are these?
No, they don't. You didn't have to.
Who are these
nothing
people?
Came of them. Well, no, yeah. One of them is the lead singer of The Offspring, and then everybody else.
I don't know if you mentioned this already because my internet's been really bad, but whoa, are you still there?
Yeah, we're still there.
Oh, okay. Something else just popped up. Okay. Sorry. I don't know if you mentioned this already, but the fact that these villains are so terrible is even the fact that they can stand out is shocking because everyone in the movie is a villain except for the little girl. Even Beethoven is not that great in this movie like he was before.
Nope.
Everyone is evil. It's just there's not a single likable character.
Yep.
Wait, how is Beethoven evil?
Well, he's not. He's just not his usual good self, I'd say.
He's evil.
He does a lot of stupid things that old Beethoven would not have done.
He voted yes on 22.
He gets sprayed by a skunk. Do a lot of try to stop the villains, but not actually then explain to the family. Not explain.
Yeah. He didn't explain to the family what happened.
He didn't make his motivations known, whereas before I think it was pretty quick to always be they realized what Beethoven was really doing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that was Bonnie Hunt being mom of the year, being oh, that's just Beethoven figuring out that David Duchovny was an asshole.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, the dog. Speaking of all the fuck ups that he causes, the one thing that carries over is that the dog makes it so someone gets hit in the balls. So That's good. We're keeping that theme going. I bet we're gonna be 8 for 8 by the time this is done.
This movie,
the times that he gets dirty or wet, when he's gonna it's their fault for cleaning him in the stupid shower of the RV when you are at a campsite.
Yeah,
like there's a lake right there. It's just.
I have to talk about, as we're talking about all the dumb things that the family did with this dog. There's just this scene where the daughter is just feeding Beethoven hard-boiled eggs, just hard-boiled eggs.
Stop it!
And it's throughout a montage, so it looks like it's being done multiple nights, and also that the family just has this giant tub of hard-boiled eggs for some reason because they're aliens. I don't
like your mom used to make a giant container of hard-boiled eggs out on the table for everyone.
Those eggs were supposed to last the whole trip.
Yeah, probably.
She budgeted everything. Oh man. Oh, speaking of the trip and things that are going on, they talk about how they only have that one DVD, The Shakiest Gun in the West, but because it's a Universal movie, we can use clips of The Land Before Time.
I know. There's like sequelception going on in this movie. Also, right. I felt like it comes back multiple times, and I just was like starting to feel like they're taunting us with this. Like they're like,
I know, just leave it on this. Let's
you
watch
guys
Land
should
Before
be
Time.
doing Land Before Time.
By the way, it's not even Land Before Time. It's Land Before Time 6.
That's what I'm saying. Sequel within a sequel.
So you remember that thing in Beethoven 3 where it just hangs on Land Before Time in an RV TV screen for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Shit's wild, man.
Also, that RV had a really good Wi-Fi hotspot, apparently.
Yep.
Yeah.
That kid, the girl is on her computer, like surfing, MapQuest every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is kind of like the first, this is embarrassing. The first time I watched this, I just watched it like an hour ago because I half watched it the first time.
Right. Yep.
But the first time I watched it, I was like, this is just like an ad for the internet. Like, she was like, let me check my computer. And then she like pulls up like the mythology of the Saint Bernard.
Yeah. SaintBernards.com.
He saved all these people.
A great website.
Oh, he looks like that's the first time where we found Beethoven's heroic lineage, I suppose.
Yeah, I love that she's like, he kind of looks like him, and they show that like what the photo is on the computer screen, and it looks like it's like a clip art, like super low res, like image of a dog. Yeah, it looks just like him.
Do we know? So from the previous films, do we know that Beethoven is of some divine
No, he's just from a puppy store.
Because that would be cool. Like another thing as kind of coming into this cold, I was watching and I was like, it would be really cool if like these films were just vessels for spontaneous Saint Bernards to appear and help humans. Like if every Beethoven was actually a different Beethoven.
They're from an ancient line of guardians.
Yeah.
They do hint, the villains hint that maybe he's been genetically enhanced by alien DNA at one point.
That's right. They do.
Oh God, yeah. At some point, the villains start having like meth hallucinations and like accusing the girl of being a spy and just like, God, it gets really dark.
I wanted to play this clip and just like because I think it sounds really funny. I wonder like what the listeners
a sound justification.
I wonder what the listeners imagine is happening in this moment. Now, I'll tell you what's happening.
I know what it is, I think.
Yeah, I just love the really gross, like goopy noises.
Someone's drowning in a vat of mayonnaise and Beethoven's holding her head down.
She's like, no. I know, yeah. It could be a million different
waterboarding
her. Beethoven, no. Oh,
I wish he was.
So this idea that they're gonna clean Beethoven in tomato sauce, is that a real thing? Or do they just make that up?
I've heard that before.
I think it's an old wives' tale. Yeah,
okay.
It might work.
I was like,
I thought it was for poison ivy. That's what I've always heard. Nothing about skunks.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Lisa gets gum in her hair. Like that's what it reminded me of.
I also like he Beethoven was like sprayed by a skunk, but they didn't show a skunk, and so it was left very ambiguous as to what happened until they spelled it out for you. But then the like park ranger or like deputy ranger or whatever,
officer
ranger He's like, excuse me, sir, your dog is in trouble for fraternizing with the wildlife. It like made it sound all weird.
Yeah.
That's not necessary.
No.
That was very strange.
Yeah.
The movie
Beethoven sinks a boat at this campsite.
Yep.
Just total the boat.
The family boat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
that's pathetic compared to the multi-million-dollar lake house he destroyed in the last movie.
That's true. When the boat gets destroyed, I was really upset because the poster of the movie shows Beethoven wearing like one of those fishing hats with a bunch of lures and stuff on it. And one, that never happens. They never go fishing. He never wears a hat. As soon as the boat was gone, I was like, oh, come on. False advertising.
You still, once that happened, were you still holding out hope for the hat? You think that perhaps the hat could come back, or would you think once the boat was sunk,
I was hoping the hat would come back. Also, the when this happens, Judge Reinhold goes flying through the air, and I thought it would have been a great moment to bring back that amazing scream from the last movie,
the Howie scream.
But instead, they just go with Judge Reinhold like,
Judge Reinhold, like, bro, you're better than this. You're Neil. You're Santa's.
I was like, is he
Santa's son, stepdad? You know, like, come on, man.
I did kind of enjoy his like performance a little bit because he was like doing this like weird like I'm just blissfully unaware of what anyone else is feeling this entire movie and just being like, come on, like the part when he's like goading his son into doing the sumo wrestling thing. He's just
oh my god,
he's just like,
that was mortifying. That was like child abuse straight up. Like any parent, if you don't have the kid that is that kid, you do not push them out in any sort of performance. You know, like it just
and
awful.
Certainly not whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Elis, do you want to talk about this Wild West show?
Sumo Town?
It's a Wild West town that's been bought out by some, indeterminate origin Asian people, and so they're going to make it a sumo Western at the same time, which is just like so stupid because like Asians are better business people than this. They would have just kept it a Western show. Let's be real. You know, like it's a Western town. Just keep it a Western show. You know, this is stupid. It was so bad. And just there was some real Japanese being spoken a little bit, but it is just so out there and offensive. And I don't think this guy was a real sumo wrestler. He's just a fat guy.
Yeah.
Like...
it led for like one shot of a bunch of like sumo dudes in cowboy hats and walking in slow motion. For like that's it.
It's just so unnecessary, you know. It's like we've seen this with other sequels too, where the sequel is just it's about something completely innocuous, and then they just be like, you know what we should do to spice things up? Be incredibly racist, you know, like it's not necessary because no one asked you to do.
It's offered up like the reason that this is a funny scene is because these people look ridiculous.
Yep.
That's it. It's just like let's how crazy can we make them look? Kids will love that. Like how what can we do? It's bad.
Yeah. Bad. There's some weird, dark, evil stuff happening around that scene and kind of throughout this movie. Like I kind of like Judge Reinhold's character as well in that like he's a deeply sad character. Like there's one moment where he says like, I think it's when they show up to the faux Western town. I think he says like, this takes me back. And the son goes, to what, Dad?
Yeah.
It's just like the most truthful, painfully true moment in this movie.
I know. He sounds like he has some sort of, issues when he's like, even when they get on that little train and he's just very happily like, oh, wow, it's smaller than I remember. And he says it in such a weird tone, like, okay.
I mean, what's not being said is that his dad beat the shit out of him constantly, right? Right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, there is that moment like towards in the last fourth of the film where there is like this moment of, actually my trip that my dad took me on was horrible too.
Yeah.
And then the whole family bonds about how
They're
terrible
like,
idea this was.
Which is like, I mean, like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, why'd you track me on this?
We don't have any money anymore.
Yeah. He's like, I know what this is missing. My dad had a bottle of wild turkey every day on the trip.
It's funny because it's like I hate to say I wish it was more cookie cutter, but I wish the parents had been more one likes the dog, one doesn't like the dog. Because Judge Reinhold, at first, he wasn't really into Beethoven, and so then I started hating him too, and then he kind of came around, but it's either like, it should be one way or the other, just for the sake of the movie and
They're
the character.
Just such shallow, empty people. Like,
Yeah.
and like just the things that they fight about, the thing, like the dream that he's holding on to is like, it seems like he's bankrupting his family to drive him in an RV across the country, and like to a family that doesn't give a shit about him. And like, and I guess in that way, it's bleakness. It's comedy parading his bleakness. It really is maybe more truthful than it lets on. But I think that it's actually thinking that it's funny. And it's just what it is, I think, is that the screenwriter's misery makes it on the screen. I think that those internal insecurities just sing through on the page.
Yeah. Oh, man. What else happens in this movie?
Oh, fuck.
Well, did we talk about the girl at all?
Which
No.
girl?
Nope, we can.
What's her name again? Is it Pearl? Did I make that up?
The girl that Brennan's like
Yeah.
falling for? Yeah.
Where Beethoven plays matchmaker yet again.
Oh.
Yeah, this girl was like a perfect specimen of the year 2000 junior high girl. Like, other than the nasty frosted lip gloss, this girl was like everything I wish I could have looked like in the year 2000. Like she's got little tank tops and the like cut off on the calf cargo pants and butterfly clips, those like rhinestones that white girls can stick in their hair, like all this kind of stuff like that I could never pull off in a million years.
What, Eliz, you didn't have business cards to hand your potential
I did
suitors?
not. Yeah, that's what I wrote. She has a business card and extra copies of her itinerary to give out to dudes. Okay. And so it's like, okay, Brennan, you're super glad she gave you that, but why does she even have those, and how many people is she giving them out to?
Right.
Like, I don't want to slut shame her because whatever, but it's just a little suspicious for a 12-year-old.
How many other kids are showing up at that hotel?
Yeah.
So it was the business card thing, because I wrote that down too. Is that an actual thing? Did like wealthy white girls have business cards with their phones?
I don't think so.
Or was that
It
just
may
not
have been like a
written?
printed business card, but there were like, okay, from like Sanrio and those Korean like stationery stores, there would be like a little small address book card maybe that you would fill out, and everybody would trade and put them into the slots of their respective address books. So it could have been something like that.
When you say everybody,
I mean Asians. Asians and the whites who wanted to be friends with the Asians. Okay. Like,
Also, she had like a stainless steel card holder. Like,
yeah.
it was like very
It was
fancy.
a lot.
Yeah.
I was like,
Something
what?
more realistic would have been like a planner.
she had her beeper holstered, her pager.
I was wondering what that was. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought maybe she had diabetes, and then I was like, oh no, it's just the early 2000s. Like, I was like, wow, how representative. Oh wait, no.
I thought she had diabetes. Turns out it was just the early 2000s.
Well, I had a student who had one of those, like
No.
those devices.
I was just saying how funny that statement was.
Yeah. I was like, how cool. Oh wait. But yeah, this girl, she was fine. I don't know.
Beethoven brings them together by stealing her backpack in the Wild West town. Also, before this, we know that he has a crush on her because he's standing back. Brennan is, before they go on the trip, is standing back by the trash cans with the photo he has of her, and like it's
No.
framed, like,
This is a different.
Oh.
I think that's a different girl.
different girl. Oh, okay, good.
It's not that
Good.
creepy.
Because it's like, that's fucking
There was
weird,
another
man.
girl he liked, but because he was going away with the summer, she wouldn't go out
God.
with him.
Oh, I thought it was the same girl. And then like, but then he like throws away the photo, and it's just like, well, what? Like,
And then it turns out that girl does actually go to his high school. They just
Yeah,
didn't know
what?
each other.
That's what happened at the end, right? That made no sense.
Yeah.
That made no sense.
Yeah. They found out. I know that they at least found out they're in the same town, right?
How
But did they
big of
go-
a high school does he go to? Jesus.
yeah.
Maybe they were like in separate middle schools and they're going to high school after the summer. Same.
Okay,
they don't know each other.
That would make more sense.
I'll give the benefit of the doubt.
That's
makes
powerful.
sense.
That's so awesome. Like, speaking as someone who used to be Brennan, like that's really awesome.
It would be like Greece, they like spend the summer together. And then I didn't know you were going to go to this school.
Come to this one.
Now we're in different social.
Oh
groups.
man, that was times, man, when your middle school friends got divided up amongst various high schools.
Yeah.
Sad stuff.
It's kind of a great, sad story of like the American suburbs in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like buying your happiness with money you don't have, or renting your happiness with money you don't have for like this like long lost lie that your dad told you about a great vacation that you're now telling your children.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the hopes that they pass it down to their children. It's a lie that endures across the generations.
What are all the different things that Judge Reinhold has to write checks for in this movie?
I mean, a kennel that is completely useless, and then all the food that they left there with it.
Yep.
A bunch of
boat.
pallets of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Brennan. No, actually, it was Beethoven's fault.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how that Diet Coke went like that, by the way. They didn't show the giant stand of Mentos next to the Diet Coke thing. I was like, how is this Diet Coke exploding so much? I don't think so.
They all look like they've been slashed.
It'd be a lot more dangerous if they didn't explode and they were just like heavy and bouncing around.
So you got the boat. They took out the windshields. He had to cut a check for the hotel room.
He has to pay for the antique barrels at the
antique barrels.
Sumo Town.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like a self-aware "this is ridiculous" joke.
Yeah,
it's like The Simpsons when Marge is a cop and she shoots the old man's antique cans.
Yeah,
I think that's episode.
Yeah,
but there were a couple like really weird self-aware moments. Like there's a moment when they're going through the itinerary, or like they're searching the web on the RV, and they're like, "Oh, there's a peanut butter sculpture of Abraham Lincoln," like as like possible things the dog could get into, but this like isn't going to be thrown into the itinerary because they have to see the giant fire hydrant instead.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can tell us, Chad, as a new dog owner, isn't chocolate sauce like really, really bad for dogs?
Yeah, it's poison.
Yeah, like, he eats an entire canister of Hershey's like chocolate sauce.
I'm pretty sure like I've Googled like bad foods for dogs because it's kind of surprising, and it's like the scale is like 0 to chocolate.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, well, this plays into Chad's theory that Beethoven comes from an immortal line of protector Saint Bernards. Then he is immune to chocolate. That is one of his powers.
Yeah, that's the alien in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The government bred that out.
Man.
I mean, what else happens in this movie? I mean, okay, so they the windshield gets broken. There's other hijinks from the fucking goons, but like I can't even recall them at the moment.
They get like poop shot out at them out of the sewage tank.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's the point where he's driving and he's like he's trying to find the sewage release, and for whatever reason at that perfect specific moment as they're driving past the goons, he finds that it's underneath the dashboard driving.
It's like where the hood is.
It's where you pop the hood. It's like here's the main sewage thing from when you're sitting in the front seat, not when you're outside by the maintenance hose. And he pulls it, and it just sprays shit out the side of the RV, which I don't think is any like. There's no practical reason.
Well, and then he says to the family, he's like, "Remind me to turn that later, to empty that later." It's like, dude, you just emptied it.
Yeah.
Well,
What did you think turning it did?
Did we talk about Chekhov's gigantic emergency brake?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes. Regale us with this technology.
I mean, it's like a large novelty, like self-destruct looking light up button.
It looks like that the art department got a bunch of tickets at the Chuck E. Cheese and were able to buy the siren.
It looks fake as
we
fuck.
gotta get it in the RV.
And its place is on the ground behind the center console with no cover. And if you come near it, the RV supposedly stops in a half a second, and you'll fly through the window and die unless you have your seatbelt on.
And us as if you've watched a movie before, if you see a big thing that says emergency brake, like that telegraphs what's going to happen. But this movie not only shows you it multiple times, it also has Judge Reinhold spend a minute of screen time explaining how good of a brake it is.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like in the line of bonus features in the Super RV that he accidentally got. And so he's like, first of all, he's like, it has a portable DVD player. And then it's like one of those like $90 DVD players like strapped to a table.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we has power for our daughter's computer, which is very exciting. And also this giant emergency brake. It's not really an amenity. It's kind of just a standard thing in a vehicle.
Stumble on that button, or like you could drop your soda can and the button is pushed and you're all dead. Like
it seems like one of the more dangerous things you could put on an RV.
Yeah.
Also, it's really sad that like the little girl who, as we mentioned, is like the only good character, the only good person in this. She knows about what they term the banditos, like the goons that are like trailing them, but they like tell her she's making it up the whole time.
That's a classic trope. That's a classic Beethoven trope.
Yep.
Yeah, but this was worse because at least in the other ones, like they only didn't believe the kid like once and then they learned their lesson.
Yeah.
Whereas this time she told them like multiple times throughout a multi-day road trip. And no one even...
Yeah, and then they're like, remember that other time you were lying about something? This is probably that too.
Another thing...
They stay in two separate rooms at the hotel, despite the fact that these parents have like no sexual chemistry and they're not like, oh, we need to be by ourselves.
And they're not rich.
Stay in here and don't leave the room of this fancy bed and breakfast or whatever.
like spoiler alert for the listeners, I was fairly privileged growing up and I slept on the floor of a hotel room until I was fucking 20 years old with my parents. Like we never got separate rooms. Like what the fuck? Like
and also this hotel room wasn't a planned expense.
No.
This is because there was a brick through the RV and they drove through bug crossing country and it became so miserable to be in the RV that they finally decided to go to the hotel, which Brennan, because he got the itinerary from his crush, knew that she would be at.
Yeah.
I mean, if money is so scarce, what's wrong with Motel 6 or
right. This was
they
stay at like probably one of the nicest hotels in Arizona.
They have a tent too. They went camping earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like I just God.
My theory.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my theory is that they aren't actually that broke. They're just like suburban Americans who are like very, very like it's like a game to calculate your expenses, and you do this back and forth with your partner about expenses, and it's like how you dance,
Well, it made like to the degree so much where I was like, is this like some sort of like governmental like psyops where so kids can internalize that they should always be concerned about money? Like because like like no family wants to go see this movie and like have that dance be reflected back at them. Like they want fun dog hijinks, but like if you're watching this as a kid, it's just like, oh, we can't afford a hotel. Like you were just internalizing all of that anxiety.
This really made me want to revisit a Goofy movie, which has a similar plot and is superior in all ways.
Oh my God, in every way.
Including the music, which in a Goofy movie is phenomenal. It was kind of just like your traditional, like, what's the YouTube guy with that crazy machine that plays every instrument at once? Like, that's the music of this film.
Let me do the Child Star check-in.
All right.
Before we get much farther into it. Well, I want to say that one good thing about Julia Sweeney that I did discover is that she named her daughter, she gave her the middle name of Mulan, like for real.
What?
So
that's kind of
that's
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. And then Michaela Gallo is our youngest daughter, whose name is escaping me, the little girl that nobody was, Sarah, right?
Sarah?
Yeah. Michaela Gallo, and she is a global HR representative at Intuit in North Carolina.
Oh,
okay.
And then
These are always so creepy.
Danielle Keaton who played the love interest girl.
Mhm.
She is a music and arts journalist who creates story after story about new artists that you can't afford to not discover for yourself.
Have you heard of Cold War Kids? Yeah.
But again, there it is. There it is. Another thing you can't afford.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the third, Brennan, Joe Pitchler. I want to do this now so that we can talk about more happy things maybe later on before the end of the episode.
Oh, no.
A real bad one.
Oh, no.
So Joe Pitchler has actually been missing since 2006. When he was 18 years old, he lived in an apartment separate from his parents and went missing, like off the grid. And they found his car a couple of weeks later, and it had like a note in it saying like, give these things to my brother, do this and that, but they didn't accept it as a suicide note, and the police didn't either. So he's still considered to be missing for the last 14 years.
Man.
Damn.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Some of these, it's just like the ratios for child stars is like there's a tragedy comes up far too often.
And it was really sad too, because the Wikipedia even specifically mentioned that he like had braces and he was like about to get them off and then planned to move back down to LA to continue his acting career.
Oh man.
Dang.
So
thank
weird.
you,
Anyway.
overly specific Wikipedia. Now back to the part where
welcome back to your child star check-in for Beethoven's third.
Well, I guess now we can talk about how he tried to meet up with a teenage girl in a fake hotel in Arizona.
I mean, we could get to the end because the ending is pretty crazy. I mean, we'd already said that they were staying in separate rooms, and the daughter just goes to sleep in the car or in the RV with Beethoven, and then the RV gets stolen by the two goons, which is genuinely scary for her. And I thought she did an okay job when she realizes what's going on. But yeah, then it turns out that they're like hallucinating and on drugs. And she literally is like, Beethoven, they're crazy. Please protect me. Okay. Like for a small child to be able to recognize that is very scary.
This is the scene where we find out that the villains must be like super poor because the one guy's so excited about a coffee maker. He's like, can we get one? Oh my God, they have a coffee maker. What?
Should we talk about...
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, should we talk about the villain's dynamic, which is really strange?
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely like,
I think so.
right?
I was like, it's somewhere between Buffalo Bill and like Three Stooges.
Yeah. I kind of felt like the one guy who thinks he's a Jedi and like tries to control things by waving his hand around. I kind of thought that he was in like this like it felt like he was like in the more powerful of the two, right? Yeah. And he was kind of, I don't want to say grooming, but it felt like there wasn't like a mutual like relationship yet. But it felt like that it was like gonna maybe happen, and he was just like feeding his buddy caffeine until it happened or something. It was very weird.
The backstory that I have imagined in my mind is that the one guy lost everything in the .com bust when the bubble burst, and he met that dude like at a random gas station. He was like a gas station attendant somewhere in the middle of nowhere outside Silicon Valley, and he was just like, "Oh, I'll tell you, like, no, like there's an operating system out there. We're gonna strike it big." And the guy was like, "Oh, I believe you. Like that'll happen." And so they just hit the road together, and he's been grooming him ever since. Like, but he's just like he just broke he has a psychic break after losing everything.
It's really upsetting. And like, he senses a disturbance in the force when the gnomes are struck by the RV. It's so weird.
That was weird. That was weird. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, this is the part of the movie that we've all been waiting for.
The end?
Beethoven hits the emergency brake. And it is underwhelming.
Well, he finally listens to a command.
That's true. That's true.
But like he said that it would stop in half a second or something, right? And it doesn't seem like it seems like it takes longer than half a second to come to
it's almost like they could have cut that dialogue out entirely.
It's just a regular break.
That's
Spoiler alert.
That's what it seemed like.
I do like the part where Judge Reinhold literally steals a cop car, and the cops just like, no, I did actually like that. It was the cops just like, good job, fellow dad.
Yeah, the cops
good
just
job,
like,
white
look,
dad.
I'm not gonna do anything. You know, exactly. In the first 2 seconds of that interaction.
Well, and the cop sitting next to him is like, well, if you want to go really fast, you just turn this knob. And he just encourages him to like ramp it up. It's
insanity. Insanity. And then so they get taken to jail for a long time, I hope, where I imagine they'll be pretty popular. And
oh God.
Sorry.
I do like though that they actually recognized like, oh crap, the girls in the car, this is now a completely different crime that we did not intend, because really they were just stealing an RV briefly is not, you know, at all comparable to kidnapping a child. Like that's bad.
But what, like, so that's what's interesting to me too, is because like if they aren't willing to kidnap a child or do anything other than just like steal the disc back, like what is on this disc that's like not important? It's like clearly of like mob origin or something. Like what is on this disc that you don't expect to have to like get your hands dirty when you
Windows 2000 is.
I was gonna say it was like a Windows 7 demo disc. Also, like what do they think operating systems do? Also,
I hope it's just one of those free AOL.
That's what I said. I was like, bro, there's over 500 hours of AOL on there.
Whoa!
Maybe
It was
Tyler,
so
your
vague.
theory is that he lost everything in the .com. Boom. Or the bust.
So
bubble
so like
or
he smuggled something out from Oracle or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, I've thought about this more than the makers of this movie. So we leave them by the wayside, and the Newtons make it to California, where there's an eccentric uncle that nobody knows.
The Riddler.
And he gives Judge Reinhold a hat, and we find out that George isn't coming. The Newtons we know and love couldn't make it. The air freshener business is just going too well.
And they want this horrible family to keep the dog longer.
Yeah.
Because they no longer miss the dog that was so important to their family that they all risked life and limb to like save him.
Yeah, but at this point the family like wants to keep the dog. they're like bummed. They're like
that
bummed
doesn't
that
mean they should.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Do they have the money for it?
Probably. As a dog owner, I can just say that I'm only in 2 weeks into this thing, but I have not I have not let go of the leash yet, which happens 8 times in the course of like 35 minutes in this movie.
Yep.
I mean, what else is I guess that's it. Yeah. And so they get there, and there's 2 other St. Bernards. I guess they're just genetically, it's hereditary, this family's ability to come across St. Bernards and enjoy them.
He's like, you remember your cousins Ted and Sally or something? Like they lived nearby.
Also, if they lived in Colorado and the Newtons were out in California, like the kids would know the dog.
They do know the dog because they say Beethoven like almost immediately after he comes out of the crate. Oh my God, it's Beethoven.
Like Beethoven's our cousin too.
Yeah. Aw.
I guess no one acts like that. Like nobody acts like it's like no one treats it like it's their beloved family dog. And you know that like, this dog like broke up reunited a man with his dog, stopped a guy from shooting animals in the face.
Yeah.
Like
maybe they didn't get all the details. I don't know.
He won a hamburger eating contest.
Oh.
Yeah. Chad, if you didn't know, the villain in the first movie is testing ammo on dogs, and there's a part where he's eating dogs and shooting them in the face.
Yep.
Wait, can I ask? So, is this series like consistently slapstick? Because my memory, it's like a family, like a warm, cuddly family film.
Yeah, the slapstick part comes in the dad being tortured by the fact that they have a giant dog in their otherwise very clean and white house.
It is not to this degree. I think that I think a lot of the montages are pretty slapstick.
Yeah.
And the montages are the thing that like I remember the most about these movies. And like in the first movie, there is a scene. Yeah, the villain stuff. Like, there's a scene where David Duchovny is like a slick banker dude, and he gets dragged in a lawn chair by the leash with his partner by Beethoven, and like that's straight out of Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
like it's like
Yeah, and the other one's like the dad is always getting like muddy and wet and getting dirt dropped on him and coffee dropped on him, but he never gets hit in the balls by like a boat hinge on the, like whatever that thing is called, like nothing like that.
I think you nailed it on the head. Hitting the balls with a boat hinge.
What's that word that I'm searching for?
I think it's a hitch.
Hitch.
Yeah.
Yes, I was close. Okay. Anyway,
that's pretty much it. The only other very small thing that I kind of laughed at that I thought I wanted to mention was there was a scene where like the bad guys are trying to get into the RV, and the one guy is like hacking the window or whatever, and then the other dude just like straight up like picks up a brick and throws it through the windshield. And after they leave, like because Beethoven shows up, Beethoven is like sitting in the front seat like with the brick like in his mouth or whatever. And when they get there,
blame him.
Yeah, when they get there, Julius Sweeney's like, he did it on purpose, and they're like, why would he do it on purpose? That makes no sense.
Oh God!
Like the dog was like, I'm gonna fuck up this
like, how is it even,
RV.
How is the dog even holding a brick in its mouth?
I don't know. I just thought that was a really funny line when they were like, he did it on purpose.
Oh man, yeah. By the way, did you recognize the train place in Griffith Park, right?
I assumed that's where it was.
Yeah,
but
after COVID, we can go there. I rode on the train
credits.
before. It's fun.
Oh, nice.
Man.
Good times.
All the things we'll do.
Yeah. We're going to visit that mortuary from Phantasm, and we're going to go on the train from Beethoven 3.
Yeah.
And we're going to go see that big fire hydrant, and then the big dog bone.
And the giant ball of earwax.
And then the peanut butter Abraham Lincoln. They couldn't go, but we can. All right. Well, I guess...
Rating system.
It's a rating system time, and there's just so much absurdity in this movie. How many antique barrels would you give Beethoven's Third?
I'm gonna give it 2 antique barrels.
That's generous.
I was real pissed. Like I was like, this is bad. This is really, really, really bad. And like I said, I am more annoyed that it made the old characters that we like look bad as well. Like there's no need to drag them into this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1 antique barrel. This is one of the worst movies we've watched in this podcast, and that's saying something.
Oh.
I am
Yikes.
fucking terrified that we're at 3. There are 5 more of these fucking things for us, and I shudder to think what is in store.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. No, and this, you're right. This does commit one of the biggest sequel sins, which is not only replacing the cast, but then picking a lazy story reason that pretty much erases all the lessons that they learned in the previous movies, where it's just like, it's coming to accept Beethoven, then it's coming to accept Beethoven's girlfriend and all the puppies. And it's just like, oh, you know what? It's not that bad. We can have everybody in the house. And, actually, that brings me back to one other point. It's like, it's weird that because like the John Hughes lineage of these movies, that it's just another family who's just like spends a ton of time in Europe. Like, I guess that's a thing in the John Hughes universe. But it kind of erases all the other movies and installs something that is more cynical, more crass, and more just empty. This is a husk of a movie.
Husky of a movie.
Oh man. Well, yeah. Hey, you got to do it. I think I want to give this one a really low score too, but I'm also very scared that we're going to have really terrible
nowhere
movies,
left,
and I'm going to be like, I want to give this one a -2. So I'm actually going to give this one a 3 because, like, yeah, it's pretty bad, but also I was like, I feel like I don't think it's like one of the worst movies we've ever watched. I still feel like there's way worse movies than this. It's just maybe you guys have some recency issues with this one.
I think that's true. I like to forget garbage.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's not great, but I mean, if you want to continue the franchise and for whatever reason don't have access to the original cast and you want to plow ahead, I mean, I think it could have been much worse than this. I was looking at the Common Sense Media like article, page for this, which is like where parents go, to read about whether or not the films are okay for your kids. And there's a section in there that's like stuff to talk to your kids about after watching the movie. And they have things like, how does this film compare to other movies where families take road trips together? What's the appeal of a road trip movie? But one of the questions that they have, like you should talk to your kids about this, is why are sequels made when the original actors don't want to be in the later movies? Like, people are going to sit down and be like, let's talk about sequels. You probably have some questions about why.
Let's talk about franchising.
Where did Charles Grodin go?
The studio can't afford to pay the actors.
By the way, this movie has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is noted in the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And
there's a really great quote on the Rotten Tomatoes. There's like a mega reviewer who's like, pure gold. I loved it. But somehow it doesn't register on that percentile rating.
Because it's not one of the critics. It's one of the audience.
Yeah. Just the audience
scores like 23% or something.
Ooh. Yeah.
Chad, how many antique barrels out of 10 would you give this masterpiece?
Out of 10, as a film scholar, I give it 2 antique barrels. As a recent dog owner, I give it 8 antique barrels. For the dog lovers out there, there is a dog in this movie.
I can't confirm. If you put it with the sound off and you're doing like folding clothes in the background, there will be a dog on screen. Yeah.
It might sound like he's murdering several people if you're not watching, but it's a cute enough dog, sure.
Awesome. Well, let's see. Is there another Beethoven movie after this?
Heck yeah, partner.
We've got Beethoven's Fourth coming up. They're just like continuing on with the numbering. And so what do you guys think? Maybe Eliz might already know spoilers, but do you think that it's this family again or what? There's more Newtons? New Newtons?
Going to abstain from speaking.
Man, is it better if it is the same family?
I feel like maybe.
Shit. Hold on. I didn't realize this. The director of this movie directed Radio Flyer and The Sandlot.
I know.
And he also is the director of Beethoven's Fourth. It's the same. Oh.
So now I'm thinking it's probably the same family.
It could be.
I don't know. Maybe Judge Reinhold tapped out. He's like, no, this I'm too big for this.
Going back to the Santa Claus.
That's right.
Oh, they have to be close to each other at that point.
No, I think he's in between 1 and 2 at this point. So.
I hope it gets better. I feel like it could. I want to say it could only get better from here, but I know that's not true. That's hopefully time and again on this podcast.
Hopefully the villain. I guess there has to be a villain, so I hope that the villain is better this next time.
Yeah,
they were bad.
All right. Well, until then, Eliz, where can people get in touch with us?
Yeah, you can email us at sequelrights@gmail.com or find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at sequelrights.
And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars goes a long way, helps other people find the podcast, feeds the algorithm, helps us. We appreciate it.
Chomp. Chad, thanks for being here with us, man, and sharing all of your awesome. It was really fun having you on. Just like, sorry we made you watch this movie.
No, it was great. Sat down with my girlfriend. We opened a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds perfect.
Oh man. Apologize to her as well.
Yeah, I have several times.
Okay, good.
What are you making me do?
Venmo me for the cost of the movie and the wine, please.
Will do.
Charge it to the Sequel Rights account. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see what's in store for us next week with Beethoven's Fourth.